Hi guys, this video requires a little preface because it got way out of hand. The length just absolutely got way out of hand. You may already noticed it down there that it's an hour and 45 minutes long or something absurd like that. And I go into great detail about wiring up the unit. So those of you who have some experience wiring up electronics or don't really need the wiring help, down in the description I'll have links for my wiring diagrams. So if you just want to grab the wiring diagrams, go ahead and wire it. I'll see you on the next video, because I went ahead and what I had planned to be video 2, I went ahead and split it into a third video. So after we initially power this up and make sure it's not going to catch on fire, we go to the next video. So the next video is going to start from scratch with getting your settings done and getting the unit basically programmed and ready to melt down some lead. So wiring diagrams, and hit video 3 if you're too cool for this video. Those of you who have no experience, you found the right place, because we're going to cover everything in the most minute detail you could imagine. So, alright, enjoy. Okay guys, welcome back. Let me drop some stuff before we get started. There we go. Time to start building our PID controller. I filmed this once already and it was a hot mess. Horrible. So I'm going to start over, and hopefully it's going to be a whole lot shorter, because I had like a freaking hour and a half of footage of me cutting holes in this project box. I guess I should step back a little bit and say, if you somehow landed here without seeing the first video, I give a demo of the unit and go through all of the parts we're going to use. So there won't be any details about the parts we're using. This is all about getting them put together. So go back and watch video 1. As you can see, I've already got the holes cut into this thing, and I am not going to spend a whole lot of time here talking about how you drill holes. I used a 3/16 drill bit. Let me make sure. Yep, 3/16 drill bit to drill holes like here in the corner, or where I'm going to mount my feet, my rubber feet, so this guy stands up off the ground a little bit. Also, this is where our terminal strips, connect in. I marked those and drilled holes. Here in just a minute, I want to show you how I arranged everything. You definitely do not need to arrange stuff the way I did, because honestly, I used the project box wrong. Put the lid on it here really quick. If this is up, then you get this nice, folded edge here that protects stuff and keeps things from spilling in the unit or whatever. Well, I used it like this. So I've got these seams right there, right there above the business end of this thing, where I'm sure I'm going to have problems with crap getting down in there and the unit getting dirty and all of that sort of stuff. I'm not really that freaked out about it, because what it did was it allowed me to just take off this lid in one piece, and all of my guts are right here, easy to work on, easy to see, and I'll be able to demonstrate to you guys easily. I'll be able to work on it easily, and yep, that sort of stuff. So this, of course, was the hardest hole to make. I used a Dremel with a cutting wheel, with a thin metal cutting wheel, to go through like that. I'll tell you what, I'll cut in some footage here of me acting like an idiot. Alright, wasn't that impressive. It didn't work out that well. For one thing, the good thing is this hole fits very nicely. So I got it in there well. One of the biggest problems I had, which I'll tell you what, I'll wait until I get it together, but I should have mounted this as far to the left as I could have, but I left a bit of a gap here, and that was a mistake, because I don't have a whole lot of room to make connections on the terminal, the terminals here on the left hand side of the back. So you're just going to have to do some experimenting, figure out how you want to mount these things, and then we'll get to the business, which is actually wiring it up, which is where I think I can probably be the most help to you. This stuff, not so much. So let me put this thing together, and then we'll talk it over. Okay, let's look at a couple of my bonehead mistakes so you guys don't make the same. This is basically how I decided to go with things. So on the back we've got power in and power out, and our two fuse holders. One will be 10 amp and the other will be 1 amp. I'll probably like scratch a mark or maybe a Sharpie or something. Here in the middle of the back I just put a screw through there with a second nut on it that I'm going to use for ground. I want to ground the chassis here so that if we happen to have a hot lead somehow get loose and touch the chassis, it should pop a fuse instead of making the whole thing live and shocking us. That's not cool, man. We don't want to shock ourselves. So here's the biggest mistake I made. Let me tell you what, let me throw this on here. I took it off so we could go ahead and put some heatsink compound on there, but I'm not quite ready to do that yet. Alright, couple things. First of all, so if we put the cover on top of this guy, and then if you look very closely, it sticks up a little bit higher than this. So if we try to put the cover on, get on there, get on there, get on there. Crap. Come on. You screwed up the back one, moron. There we go. There we go. Alright, so what the hell we got shaking around in there? Alright, so you can see it doesn't quite go down all the way. Figure out what we got. It's one of the screws off of the back of the switch was rolling around in there. Okay, so what we're going to have to do is remove this and not use it, which is totally okay. That's mainly for like an installation where this is hanging on a wall or something and it needs some protection. There's plenty of room between the top of the unit and our screw terminals, so there's no fear of of our case coming into contact with our hot wires. So that's fine, so I won't even put that back on there, but without that cover it fits, and this is able to lay flat and good to go. Now, the other problem, I did not really leave all that much clearance between my switch and the SSR. And that's why I am going to use ring terminals on this, and we're actually going to kind of have them tilting sideways like this and like this, so they're not going to come straight out the back of the switch just because there's not enough room. No big deal at all. Shouldn't be a problem at all. There's enough room for the For the thermocouple wiring, that's no big deal. So that's all fine, and that's good to go. I've got the solid state relay as close to the edge as I can get it while still leaving enough room for the lid to go down between there and the edge. So it's all the way over. And this is where I think I mentioned I should have had this furthered this way, because I did not leave enough room here for whenever we put our terminals in there. There's just not quite enough of a gap. So it is not very smart, but each of these, whenever I put them on there, I'm going to have to bend them just slightly so that they kind of sit at an angle and the wiring can clear the heat sink. So look out for that when you're putting yours together. Make sure you've got plenty of clearance on both sides. Yeah, this is kind of a little bit wobbly, so it's got a little bit more than I was showing you a minute ago. But I'm still going to need just a little bit of a bend to get clearance on the wires on the back of the PID controller. Shouldn't be a huge deal. The other thing, let's see if I got one here. So you know, these guys with the Hujawats that's on the side takes up a lot of space, and I wanted plenty of clearance on each side of these. So these, I actually bent them upward some, but there's still plenty of clearance, and I'm not too freaked out about it. These are very, very well insulated. Like, the insulation is nice and thick, so even if for some reason this got smashed and bent down, if these touched, I would still feel pretty good about it. You know, not shorting. So those are good to go. And that little bit of a bend gave us plenty of room to work with. So I think that's pretty much all I want to cover for the install. Well, you know, we're going to see where all the wires go and all of that sort of stuff. And, but as far as where they should go in your projector box, I don't know, man. Just work it out for yourself, cut your holes, and get it put in there. The mounting for this guy is pretty weird. It's got these little plastic clips that go down in here, and then you push them, and you hear that like ratcheting action here on the back. So it basically holds it against there, or, you know, pulls back, basically puts tension here and holds it in place. There's not a lot of room underneath, but there's enough to get it on there. I've got it on there a couple times already, so it's not a huge deal. But and then whenever you want to take it off, you just pull that up and that comes loose. Pretty slick little design. I think we're ready to start wiring, and I'll tell you what we'll start with. We will start with the thermocouple, because it's way down there and it's kind of going to be a little bit of a pain in the butt. I guess this is probably the right time for me to introduce what our wiring diagrams are going to look like. I tried to make something that would be very, very simple and easy to understand and not look like a freaking schematic. So here is our thermocouple wiring diagram. Not much to it, right? Looks like it was made in Microsoft Paint. But hopefully it makes sense. These thermocouples have red and blue wires, and this is what you would call polarity sensitive. If you mix these up at any point in the path, you know, get them backwards, it's not going to work. So like I said, the blue is the positive. So you might be able to see it there on the picture. Our little connector has got a little plus symbol there, and our little bulkhead connector has also got, actually let me pull it out of the unit here and we will have a look. We'll go back to the diagram here in just a second. Come on, there we go. It has got, yeah, they're on the back. They're above the screws, which you may or may not be able to see. little plus and negative symbols there. So I don't work with thermocouples very much. This, you know, I'm not familiar much with thermocouples, but from what I've read, they are very sensitive to junctions, and that's why, you know, these connectors supposedly have like special metals, like the positive conductors and the negative conductors are different materials, and it's important not to introduce any unlike metals in the path, or you can get weird readings from your thermocouple. So I am actually not going to use like spade connectors on the back of our thingy here, or you know, this is actually a ring terminal. I'm not going to use these. I'm actually going to put these wires are very small and very delicate, tiny little guy. We're just going to put it right underneath the screw and very delicately tighten it down, make sure it's good and tight, and we're just no connector, just wire straight below the screw, and I'll show you how to do that and get a halfway decent connection. I'm trying to decide, well, and it will be the same way inside of this guy. Let me pop it apart. Come on. These connectors got some bad reviews on Amazon. I was a little bit worried about it whenever I ordered them. But now that I see it, I think, you know, they're just very small and delicate. You just got to be careful. Yeah, like here's our guys. And the same thing, our cable's going to come in and our wires are just going to go directly below those screw terminals. So this is going to be a little bit of a delicate process, but I think we'll be okay. First thing we need to do is measure out how much we need to cut off. So we need to go from, you know, our thermocouple input is right here, and our connections to our PID controller are 7 and 8, the top ones on this row. Let me throw the diagram back up there. Yep, 7 and 8 right there at the top on the right hand side. So I just want to, actually I'll just feed the wire through the hole in the front here and figure out how I'm going to route it, and make sure we leave plenty of excess to play with in case we need to shorten it somehow. And it looks like right about there is where I am going to chop it. So let me just grab some cutters and we chop it. I am probably going to need some smaller cutters to clean up this stuff, this braiding. But there is our red and our blue guy. This is braided, so I don't even know if standard strippers are going to work. I'll tell you what, let me go grab some more delicate, some smaller snips. Alright, let's go with a more of an uppy-closey view here. So we've got that side that was factory prepared, and then this side, and this is where we are going to make our connections. So these, you know, little snips like this are something you should own, no doubt about it. So this should do okay at chopping through this, or maybe not. Stuff's pretty tough, I guess. Come on. Yeah, this stuff's just tough. You got to go at it in small bites. Maybe something more substantial. Let me try these big guys. Man, this stuff is tough. Man, I think these have had a rough life. They're not the sharpest tools in the toolbox these days. That's pretty close, and then these last few, maybe I can get them with our little guys. Alright, that should be enough. Probably. So now stripping these is what I am not even really sure about. I guess we could try my super crappy strippers that I have. If anything works, it's going to be the smallest ones, and it's probably not going to work. Yeah, not even close. Okay, let's use a knife. Very lightly, just try to cut through the fabric here. Spin it around a touch. So let's see if that did anything. Nope, it didn't. Might have to try and do a little bit. Man, that is, it's you know, it's braided. It's braided cloth, so we might just have to unbraid it and then cut it. Now you might be saying, why not just use a regular piece of wire inside of the enclosure? And that goes back to, you know, these thermocouple wires are supposed to be special material. So I don't want to introduce any copper wire into the into the path. That actually seems to be working a little bit. So I think that's what I'm going to have to do, is just slowly unbraid a little bit and then trim off the braiding. Alright, I won't make you sit through it all, but that's what I'm doing. Alright, I'm over to the red one now, and I think I got a way that kind of seems to work halfway decent. Like once you get that first part unbraided and snipped off and you've got a little bit of wire showing, then you can kind of just, with the dull side, just slowly kind of work your way down, snipping a little bit as you go. And that seems to work okay without damaging the wire. Yep, that's not too bad. Clean it up just a touch here. Alright, we're in business. Now, it's very important. Tell you what, let me get these shavings out of the way. There we go. I'll tell you what I should have done was put a little bit of heat shrink on this before I started boogering it up. Now it's going to be very difficult to get heat shrink over it probably. I'm going to cut off a little piece. About that long. And that end's a little bit gnarly, so I'll just clean it up just a touch. See if that braiding will go through it. Come on. Let me try, see if it'll go over the other end. Hey, I think it will. Crap, and then I just pulled the heat shrink off this side. Now I've got heat shrink inside a heat shrink. And I'm stripping off the freaking... You know what? Screw it. There we go. So we're not going to have braided. We've got separate wires now. Whatever. That's fine. That is fine. Now the other end, these were the factory ends where they had that. They actually did it like this. They stripped off a little bit and then bent it over, and that's what they had inside of the spade terminal. So we'll straighten these guys out and see. Yeah, we'll probably need to chop those off just a touch. Alright, so let's start with our red guy, which is negative. This is our new end that we just freshly stripped. Got a little piece of needle nose here, or a little needle nose here. I just want to grab the tip of it. Actually, I tell you what, that very tip is a little bit boogered from the work we were doing. So let's just go down a little bit and chop off just a touch. And then this part up here, let's grab it and just bend it over like that. So now we've got a little bit of a hook. Now on the back of our unit here, you can see this side is the negative. So let's loosen it just a touch. And there it is. So now you always want to put these, when you're going around a screw, you want to put them around in the direction so that as it tightens, it's basically going to tighten with it. Or if you've got it the wrong way, it'll basically try and unspool it from the screw. So this guy right here, we want it going around that way. So let's see if we can get this kind of fished under here and around the screw. Yeah, that's going okay. Might need to help it with a screwdriver. You want it nicely under that screw. You don't want it to where as you tighten it up, it's just going to spread out around the screw. So it seems to be under the screw very well. So let's just go ahead and tighten down. And this is where if you tighten it too far, you're going to break it. And you might break it the first time and need to redo it, but it's very light, just enough to where it's in there. Actually, the insulation is slipping on the wire, which is fine, which actually we can probably work it back this way just a touch. There we go. But that is in there nicely. See if I can work this insulation that direction just a touch. Grab a hold of this end. There it went. Yeah, you see how? Can you see it? Kind of moving back and forth there. It's just very loose on the wire, which is fine. So that guy's in there tight. Nothing to worry about. So I'm going to do the same thing with the blue end. Do it at full speed here. Snip off a little bit of the tip. We'll kind of bend over just a touch so that we got a little hook. Remember, we want it to go that way. If we try to put it that way, it'll loosen up on us. There's that guy in and around. Yep, that hooked nicely around the screw. And we just lightly tighten it. Just about like that. So, yep. There we go. Grab the other end, give them a little tug maybe. Make sure they're not coming loose on you. And they certainly shouldn't. So those are good clean connections. I don't think we're going to be inducing any weird activity from our thermocouple, right? Should be solid connections with no crazy dissimilar metals in the line. So I will just work this in there. Yep, there's our wires. Bring them around this way. You can see I left plenty. I'm sure there's probably some industry standard of which way is up and which way is down and all of that, but I don't know it, so I'm just going to go with it this way, where I can see the wires, I can see the terminals, so that you know, if one of them comes loose or something, I can see it from the top without trying to look underneath. So that's how that goes in there. Alright, so the other end of our wires, these factory connections, you know, they've been crimped and they're funky, so I'm going to chop them off and strip a little bit back. And this end, I don't know whether to use a terminal or not. I think once you reach this point, like, you know, we're at the end of the road here. These are not that special metal. So I think, you know, using some standard terminals here wouldn't be such a problem. So yeah, let's do that. I'll tell you what, we'll I'm going to chop these off. We'll strip off just a little bit of wire. There's that. There's that. Let me strip these back just a little bit and we'll put a terminal on them. Okay, so I got some bare wire stripped on both of these guys. Yeah, there we go. A little bit of contrast there with the black. We want to use the small red guys, and honestly these are still probably too large, but it's similar to what they used. Actually, they had used the wider ones. They wouldn't have fit properly into our PID controller anyway. So these might be a little bit big still as far as, you know, gauge goes, but I don't know, they'll be okay maybe. The top, okay, so the blue guy here, the way they did it, and we'll do the same, is they bent it over. This is a pretty resilient wire. You know, you can tell as you bend it over, it's not trying to snap or anything. So it feels okay. And then what they did was just put that up inside. And I actually want to try to get the wire down, because, you know, these spade connectors have got a slit in the top, and the back should be, you know, the back doesn't have. So I want to try to get the wire, which is right there, down. And yeah, that actually fits pretty decent. So on these guys, you don't want a bunch sticking out. You want it to come up and be just about flush with the end of the, you know, you can see a little bit there, like it's right up there to the edge, but it's not sticking out. So we want to use the red part of our crimpers there. And where you want to go is kind of toward the base. You don't want to be right up there at the end. You kind of want to be down a little bit. So let's get it kind of in the jaws, and then let's double check our wire placement. Yep, that looks good. Let's see, we're not quite even. There we go. So our crimpers are smashing right on the top and the bottom. Our wire's where we want it. Almost. There it is. And then you just give it hell. And basically that's pretty much it. You don't want to yank too hard. If you pull too hard, these absolutely will pull off. But a nice tug to make sure it got good purchase, and that seems okay. I'm still not super thrilled about this. If we have any weird readings with this unit or have problems, I think this is going to be the first place I come to. I'm going to chop these off and I'm going to put the wire straight, straight here with no connector. But alright, so back to, well, I'll tell you what, let's go ahead and just put the other guy on here real quick. So we fold it over gently over our finger to kind of, yep, give it some relief. There we go. Sitting over flush. You don't have to like smash it too flat or anything. We don't actually crimp right up there at the end, so even if it has a little bit of a a little bit of a loop over there at the end, that's fine. It's not going to get smashed flat. We need another red small guy. There it is. Put it in till it kind of reaches there. Oops, I kind of put it in upside down. There we go. I want the wire toward the spade, if I can get it there. There we go. And yeah, I'll tell you what, I'll come at it this way, try and get it on camera. Okay, there it is, and yep. Give it a nice squeeze. Give it a little tug. Nothing crazy. Don't go crazy. But a nice little tug, and there we are. So, I guess we could go ahead and put these on. Make sure we've got our clearances right and all of that sort of junk. So, back to our wiring diagram. Yep, so the red guy goes on top and the blue guy right below it. Okay, let's put the blue guy in first. These are another one. They don't have to be crazy tight. Good and tight is just fine. And there's our red guy. There we go. Now, these have got a bit of a swing to them, right? Are they going to fit without getting crazy? Now, one thing I had learned earlier when I was just playing around, these, let's see, we're not using any of these bottom connectors, so I don't mind screwing one up for you. For demonstration purposes, let me loosen it up. There we go. So this guy right here, get in there. That's one of the bigger ones. No, it's not. Why won't that go in there? I just didn't get it loose enough. This was never going to be easy to film, so you're just going to have to forgive me on the crappy views. But if you pull this way, why isn't it doing it? It was doing it before. Let me bend it up. And then this way. There we go. I don't know why it's not doing it. But earlier I had one that really kind of bent upward. So you just got to be careful. These right here are not that sturdy. Right? I don't know if you can see that moving back and forth. So as you tighten these, or like if you need to bend something, or bend something, make sure you're not putting strain on the screws themselves, because you can jack those up very easily. Alright, so I need to put the clips on this guy for good, since we've got permanent connections on there. And the bottom guy, there's no chance I could get this on camera. I gotta find the clip first. Alright, there we go. So that guy's in there. So now this is in there for the last time. So this stuff can be kind of permanent. Now, you can see the wires are touching the bottom of the heat sink here. No big deal. This is not going to get hot. We're not doing enough work. But if you were worried about it, you could, just be sure that you go ahead and keep the braided protector to protect it from heat, or just make sure it kind of goes over here and clears it. But no big deal. No big deal at all. Alright, so on the other end we need to connect the end we cut off to our connector, and I actually remembered to put on the heat shrink this time. So just a short little piece. I'm hoping it's going to fit once it shrinks down. We will see. But I just want to kind of have it over top of the end of the braided stuff just a little bit. And then you just grab your crack torch or whatever and very slowly heat it up. I don't want to don't want to burn anything or melt anything. I'm not sure how resistant to heat this cloth jacket on these conductors is, so just kind of want to sneak up on it a little bit here. I would have to assume, being a thermocouple, would have to be reasonably heat resistant, but you never know. Make sure you got a couple pounds of gunpowder sitting on the bench while you're doing this. Alright, I think my heat shrink is mostly shrunk. Alright, let that guy cool for a second, and then I'll strip this off just a little bit. Enough. This is going to be another one where we just want enough, we want enough there to reach over here and go around the screws, and then we'll just put it directly under the screws. This is the most delicate part of the whole operation, so this is kind of why I wanted to get it out of the way first. I knew it was going to be a pain in the butt, so after we get through this, it should be smooth sailing with much bigger wires and much easier to strip wires. Alright, this is going to be a pretty delicate operation. So let's see, can we see that? On the left it says negative, and on the right it says positive. So if you remember, the red is our negative lead. I'll show you how I've got these guys stripped almost all the way down to the heat shrink, because there's just not a whole lot of room here. I want a little bit of the heat shrink inside of there, and I don't want any of the braided part to be under the screws. So there's not a whole lot of room there for braided stuff, but you need enough to, so you don't short the wires together. So there we go. Red on the left, blue on the right. So I'm trying to eyeball about how much lead I'll need. Actually, it doesn't look like I'll need to cut off very much. Just going to snip off a bit of each. Going to grab the needle nose and give them just a little bit of a tweak, you know, into a nice round shape like that. It's also small. We'll probably have to get them both in there at the same time. Okay, let me loosen these guys up. Actually, hell, it might be easy to just take them all the way out. Maybe not. These do have nuts on the back, you know, captured nuts. So you can also buy thermocouples that already have these connectors on them. So that is an option. Alright, I'm going to have to... Yeah, that whole taking them all the way out thing wasn't a good idea. So let me get these screws back in. I might have to do this up off the table, and my hands will probably be shaking like crazy. So remember, red is negative, that is the left. So our red guy goes on this side. Actually, it may be easier to get the blue guy started and then come over for the red guy. Oh yeah. And I'm going to go in here with the screwdriver and try to make sure that these are somewhat tight around the screw. I mean, they don't need to be like pinching like crazy, but enough to where we'll make sure that they get caught by the screw nicely. Okay. Remember, you always kind of come up on the left side and go around the right. Even on the left-hand side where that's a bit of a pain in the ass, you still want to do it because that's what's going to get you the best tight connection. So let's see if these will tighten down. Just going to tighten them very lightly right now. Okay, now I'll put it on the table. Hopefully that freaking heat shrink isn't so big that our cover's not going to go on there. I bet it's going to be a pain. So let me go ahead and tighten these guys just a little bit. Doesn't need to be like crazy. Hopefully, you know, the connection here, right where our heat shrink gets pinched, that's what's going to hold all of the strain. You know, these shouldn't have to deal with strain if we do our job right. Yep, so those are good, and you know, very just gently tightened. So now the big question: will our cover go on? Okay, the nuts are already in this one. Let's get a little bit of a, there we go. Okay, let's see if they'll start. That seemed to start. That one doesn't seem to start. I may have tightened the other side too much at first. So let's loosen it up just a smidgen. This is the one where I want to go as tight as I can until I feel like I'm going to break something. Because like I said, this is the strain relief. Oh, our nut's kind of coming loose out of there. Let's try it this way. There it went. See it starting to close together. Okay, that's good. Tighten this side up just a little bit. So I can get it. There we go. I'll show you the gap there. As we tighten, it should close up just a touch. Oh, that's beautiful. That's really beautiful. So that's a nice, really tight pinch, as long as the plastic doesn't break on us. So that is 100% pinching on heat shrink. So I don't have to worry about, you know, if I get lazy. There it is in our unit. So if I get lazy and accidentally tug on it or bump it or something, it's not pulling directly on the wires, right? It's pulling, that heat shrink is pinching really tight right there and making a nice strain relief for our cables inside. So good to go. That was the part I was worried most about. So it's good to have that behind us. And now it's easy street. Now we just got to make a bunch of cables and figure out where to plug them in. And we've got diagrams for that. Okay, the next thing I want to do before we go any further is go ahead and put the heatsink compound underneath our solid state relay. The way these mount, there's you know, one that's a hole and one that's a slit, so you only have to loosen one screw all the way. So what I want to do is I've got some, like, you know, 91% isopropyl alcohol. I just want to clean the top of this and the bottom of the SSR a little bit, just so that there's no gunk on there. A little bit of gunk coming off. Alright, give that just a second to dry. Shouldn't take long. We'll go ahead and use this this stuff. Trying to get it open. It's just, you know, plastic crap that you yank off of there. Okay, shouldn't take a huge amount. That's probably way too much. This is a little bit pasty, and yeah, that's going to squeeze out all over the place. Yeah, that's way too much, but no big deal, man. We'll just go ahead and put it on there and just kind of give it a little bit of a wiggle. Get it working its way around there. Alright, and I'll pull it up and see if it'll come loose. I'm going to wipe some off. This is way too much. Actually, what's left on the heatsink there is more than enough. Still too much. Okay, yeah, I just wiped it off. We'll go with what's left on there. Give it another little shake. Whatever, it's good enough. See if it squeezes out like crazy. It doesn't seem too bad. That'll probably ooze out a little bit here over the next little bit, and then probably like the first time it gets a little bit warm, it'll probably ooze out. That was a lot thicker than the stuff I'm normally used to. Like, I probably should have used this. It's a little bit thinner and easier to flow. No big deal. No harm. Alright, so here's what I think we should do. First of all, did I already mention, so with our different wiring diagrams, I'll have links to it, you know, down in the description so you can download them and, you know, view them or print them or whatever you want to do with them, so you don't have to pause the video or any of that crap. So you probably already know what's coming at this point if you're building. I don't know what I'm trying to say. Here's what I'm trying to get at. What I'd like to do next is go ahead and mount our cords through the holes. But you're going to need to know how long these leads need to be in your installation. So that's what I'll do. We'll mount these really quick, and I'll tell you where at least these three go. And I'll tell you what, this guy, we'll talk about the ground first. Yeah, let's do the ground first. The grounds are going to come in and go to this post. That's the only place they go. Let's look at this wiring diagram. Yep, isn't that complicated? That's all there is to it. They just come in and go to this post. And my plan was to just go ahead and use some ring terminals on these guys. Yep, just little ring terminals that go nicely over that that number 8 screw. So these should be a good bit easier to strip, even with our super crappy strippers, right? So number 14 wire is the third one down, so we should be able to just go put it right there. You don't need to strip off a huge amount, just about that much. Give it a little squeeze, usually give it like a twist, and then a little tilt, and you pull. We're going to do a whole lot more of that, so if you didn't get that the first time, you'll see it here in a few. And you go ahead and twist your wires up just a touch. And if you got any like gnarly leftover, man, my hands are covered in heatsink compound. But yeah, so if you got any little plastic stuff, no big deal. Just, you know, get your little snips and snip it. Make sure you don't have any, you know, big pieces of the jacketing or the plastic, you know, going up there. Then the next thing, you know, these just go right on there, and you'll see this is way too long. You don't want a bunch of wire hanging out there. You want it to be just about flush, like right there. And you of course don't want any exposed wires. So the way these are designed, this should, you know, when this goes in, it should stop whenever the, you know, the insulator reaches the that guy. So we need to trim off that much, and we'll just work our way down until we get it about right. There's a little bit. Double check our twist, and we'll get better as we go at judging the length, and we won't have to trim so much. Oh baby, that's just about right, maybe just a smidgen long, but not really. Yeah, I'm going to chop off just another tiny little bit. So there you go. That's really about, my stupid camera keeps focusing on the back. There we go. So now if we put this on, our wires are right there at the end, and we are ready to crimp. So back to our super awesome crimpers. Our blue guy is in the middle, right? put that, like I say, you kind of want to be down towards the bottom. You don't want to be right up against here. You want to be down, at worst, in the middle. And you want to center over top of the, the slit in the top. And my wires are coming out. It's a lot easier off camera. Get in there. What did yeah, occasionally you get a wire that decides to go crazy. This thing's going to be a pain in the butt. Sometimes you just get one wire that keeps wanting to not go in properly. There we go. Now we're in. We can see the wires are about right there. Our crimpers are about right there. My camera is semi-focused, and we just give it hell. And it basically closes almost all the way. And there you'll see, it just gave it a nice smash. So if we grab a hold of this, you don't want to go crazy. You can pull this off. If you tried hard enough, you could pull this off. But a nice pull shouldn't do a thing. So there's that guy. So that's about, at least in my setup, my ground post, this is the output pigtail. So that's going to go over in this side. Yeah, let's just go ahead and put it in. Okay, now what I want is just a little bit of the, the rubber to poke through, but we're immediately going to start turning sideways, so I don't want it like this or anything. I want it just about like right there, and I'm going to just loosely tighten these, and then I'm going to need to try and get them even. There we go. So that just pinches down on there. Now, you don't want to go crazy. You definitely do not want to go crazy, because if we pinch this down too much to where, the cable's really flattening out, then we're going to cause we're going to have heat issues here, and we can melt wires and stuff, and that's not cool. We want enough to where it's in there very, very good, but our cable isn't smashed like crazy. So that is a very, very good connection, but nothing crazy. Now, if I just take this nut off, this guy comes right over here, and there it is. And it's the same story on the input side. I've already cut this to length. That guy's going there. Now, in mine, so this is our black side and this is our white side, right? This is our neutral side. So you can see on this side, I've got plenty of white cable here. This is going to go over underneath the fuses, turn around, and then go into this side on the neutral. On this side, it's going to basically come out and go straight down. So on this side, it's short. And the, on the power, the input power, this is going to turn around and go right to a fuse. So that's short. So you just kind of got to plan ahead for where your wires are going to go and cut them to length, before you strip these guys back. I'll tell you what, that's some footage I want to show you from earlier. Was, this is... it's not that difficult. I basically just chopped these guys, chopped the cable, and then used a knife to score this thick, the thick plastic jacketing, and then slowly work it. So I'm going to cut in a little bit of footage here of me working on this guy, and exposing these wires. You know what, this is such a pain in the butt, I'm going to go ahead and just let you watch me do this. So this is, I want to strip off 5 inches of our, you know, insulating material from the outside. So I want a very shallow score around where I want to stop. Very shallow. You know, just nice and easy, nothing crazy, definitely not making it all the way into the wires. Just enough of a score to where as we start stripping it back, it's not going to go any farther. It'll get to there and it'll tear, you know, and it'll probably, and hopefully it'll tear cleanly. So just a light score all the way around. Then we can go up here and like we did before, just kind of like you can look at your wires and find a spot in between so that if you do kind of slip in, it'll, you know, hopefully go between the wires, or it won't just jam straight into one. And just kind of start working yourself a little hole in the jacket. Yep, tell you what. There we go. Sometimes it helps to work down on the table a little bit. You know, if you scar up the very end of it, like the first, don't freak out too much about right here at the end. It's mainly whenever you get on down, you know, if you cut the wire down here, you've basically lost everything up to that point. So where'd my little needle nose go? There they are. So there we go, starting to get into there. Sometimes you catch it at just the right spot and it'll rip reasonably easy. Sometimes you can just grab one of the conductors and try to use it as kind of a pull. But that doesn't always work. And then I'll tell you what, let's go ahead and just like I did down here, where, you know, it's very lightly scored. I'll go ahead and do the same all the way down. Maybe that'll make life easier. And you know, the thickness of the jacket is going to vary between different cables, so you may be dealing with one that has a very thin jacket and need to be much more careful here, but this one's pretty thick, pretty beefy. Try not to chop my freaking fingers off. These knives are crazy sharp. Go, starting to get a little bit there. So now let me see if I can grab a hold of these with this. And what do? We use this to grab a hold here before. There we go. Like skinning a squirrel, right? There it is, and that took us down to our score mark. It went a little bit past it, so it didn't quite work out as perfectly as I was hoping. But hopefully it's going to be okay. Yep. Where'd my dikes go? There they are. Trim that around there. No need for it to be perfect. So there it is. So now we've got our dangly wires. Beautiful. Okay, while you were away, I went ahead and fed our cable in and got it tight. Went ahead and put a ground connector on there. So we got our second ground connection there, and we can go ahead and drop the nut in there. Alright, let's try this again. There we go. And doesn't need to be crazy tight. I should probably have a nut driver in here, and I don't. That's tight enough for now. I'll tighten that up a little bit more here in a bit. Alright, so there we are. That's our ground. It's very loose. Yeah, actually I need to tighten up the lower nut. There we go. That's better. Alright, so we're grounded. The next easy one is the neutrals, the white wires. So let's just go ahead and do it. Let's have a look at the chart, you know, or at our wiring diagram for that. Pretty darn straightforward. Basically, our two big cables, you know, our input and output cables connect straight to the bus, and then we've got one little jumper that goes over to pin 2 on the back of the PID. And that's all there is to it. So these guys right here, that guy. Remember, we got our 14 hole, third one down. There it is. And we're learning about how much we need, which is not much. Give it a pinch. Give it a twist. And then a little bit of a tilt while you pull it. And we're stripped. Twist the wires just a little bit. And let's see, we need a medium-sized blue spade. Remember, these are the smalls that go on the back of our PID, but if I can get them even, there we go. So not much bigger, but a little bit bigger, and those are going to fit properly on these guys. So I'll tell you what, I'll just go ahead and strip this second guy. 14 and a little bit less. There we go. A little twist, a little tilt, pop it off. Yeah, like sometimes they leave little plastic boogers behind that you just need to clean up just a touch. You know, better strippers don't do that. So if you buy the ones that I recommend in the equipment list, it'll do a better job, but these still get the job done. Alright, so this guy's going to come down, and let's see, I'll probably put it on this last one. Yep, you can see our wires are coming right to the end, so that's perfect. We grab our blue, which is in the middle, down a little bit from the top, and just squeeze it. Basically, as hard as you can squeeze it is fine. You know, if you're using better crimpers, you can certainly over crimp, but using these cheap ones with very little, you know, mechanical advantage, yeah, just about as hard as you can. Where did my screwdriver go? There it is, right in front of me. Alright, let's lift that guy up. Let's put it underneath. So, you know, this is up, right? Not like this. You want it like this. Get it right there. Basically all the way in. And we tighten that down. Not crazy tight. Like I said, this is floating. So, you know, it's going to move around once you're done, but that's fine. So that's what it looks like. All the way in. And this is the reason why you don't want wires hanging out above, you know, above where the end of the crimping portion is. because it would interfere with getting this fully underneath our lug there. So same deal here. Our connector, yep, length looks good. I'm gonna have to get a manual focus camera at some point in my life. This is drives you bonkers. Okay, there's that guy. We want to run it underneath the fuse holders there, and we'll put it right next to the other guy. Okay, right under there, all the way in, and tightens down nicely. Okay, we can kind of tuck these wires away just a little bit, make them look pretty, and there we are. So our ground comes in and goes right back out. Our white wire, our neutral, comes in, hits the bus, and goes right back out. But we need to tap off of this guy to bring over to pin 2 on our PID controller as well. So we don't need this big 14 gauge wire for that. What I've got is this is some of the smaller stuff. I think it's 20 gauge, 18 gauge. This is 18 gauge wire. I've already pre-measured this. So this is long enough to go from here and come around over here. Yeah, actually it's a little touch short, isn't it? No, it's fine. So this guy's 20. See, all the way down here at the bottom there's a 20 to 22 hole. We'll see if it's going to actually work okay. A little bit of a twist, a little bit of a pull, a little bit of a focus. That's a little bit too long, but that's fine. Let's go ahead and hit the other side. Alright, so now this wire, we'll use red connectors, right? These are smaller. So we need a medium size spade on that side, and we need a small spade on the PID controller side. So one side gets that, the other side, those are both mediums. There's a small. There we go, there's a medium and a small. Yep, I thought that was a little too long, but the length actually looks perfect. The red thing is right out there at the end. Yep. Okay. Nice little tug. Yep, that's on there nicely. That actually looks good. Now you have to be careful with these small wires. Actually, that one had, you see how that one little wire there in our stranded wire just wanted to fold back on us? That happens sometimes. You just gotta kind of comb it out and redo the twist. Eventually it'll, there we go. But oh, what I was saying earlier, sometimes these smaller wires, you got to be careful that you don't end up with some of the insulator, you know, the jacket getting up inside of the crimp thingy. So if it goes in, you feel it kind of hit, and then it'll go a little further, but it gets mushy. That's, you know, that's the plastic jacket. So you don't want to go crazy. There we go. So now we've got a jumper ready to connect here. Now here's the problem. if you will recall, because I'm an idiot, there's not really enough room to put this in here properly. So I need to give it just a slight bend. This is really not smart, but you know, it's I made my bed, I gotta lay in it. So I'm just going to use this pair of needle nose to just give it about a 45. Let's see if that's enough. Actually, I need to loosen up or make sure it's loose. That guy's loose. That guy's pretty loose. Okay, so that's where it goes, right? On pin 2. There we go. And my screwdriver's hitting the camera. These do not need to be crazy tight. Just comfortably finger tight. Okay, so there's that side, and then over here we just bring it around and it goes under our third guy. Beautiful. So there's that, and I'll make sure that last guy is tight because nothing's going to go there. And I guess at this point we could go ahead and our plastic cover, see if we can manipulate it down into there and put it on. There we go. So our neutral has been wired. Beautiful. So we've basically got 2 left, and our hot wire, our black wire, you know, here and here, this is the most crazy. It kind of goes all over the place. We got fuses going on and all sorts of stuff. But what I want to do before we get to those is the SSR input wiring that go here. So these connect to the back of our PID, and I grabbed some wires that were just weird colors. I grabbed some, yeah, I grabbed like a yellow and a blue. Yeah, this just kind of goes like most of the work I do, I don't really work on AC stuff. I work on DC stuff, and in every DC circuit on planet Earth, black is ground and red is your positive, or you know, black is negative and red is positive. So this is a DC connection, so all of my training and experience makes me want to make the negative wire black and the positive wire red, and it's just fine. Well, the problem is all of our other hot wiring in this box is black, so that's why I just went with some crazy colors, and they don't matter, and we're just going to make up our own uses for them. So these guys are cut to length and ready to go. I don't know if that made any sense at all, but it made sense in my crazy head. So I'm going to strip these guys down, and this is going to be just like the white cable we made a few minutes ago. A small spade on the a small red spade on this side and a medium red spade on this side. So I'll make these. I won't make you watch it all, and I'll see you guys here in just a second. Okay, while you were away, not only did I go ahead and just build our yellow and blue guys, I went ahead and connectorized everything else. So at this point it's just plugging stuff in. Let me get back to my wiring diagram so I can remember which. Yep, okay, so basically 3 goes to 4 and 4 goes to 3. So if we look here, let's try to get this guy in there under number 3. Okay, and I'll tighten it up. You didn't actually need to see anything, did you? Yeah, you get it. You know what's going on. You know what's happening. Alright, and let's just go ahead and connect number 4 as well. Very tight fit here. There we go. And reach in there and block your view. Alright, this is the wrong screwdriver for this job. I need a little stubby Phillips, which I'll get here in just a minute, but this is enough to hold them in place. Now these guys are going to flip back around and hit this side, right? This is our input. Here's our negative and our positive input. So let's see if we can figure out a decent way to route these guys. Thinking that they might loop underneath pretty well. Alright, let's see if I can get a hold of them on this side now. What are you doing over here, thermocouple? Man, I'm really happy with how that turned out. I think the strain relief on that is going to be awesome. That's pretty cool. Okay, so let's see if we can lightly just grab this guy. There's our blue. And let's see, I'll tell you what, let's just go ahead and connect it. So blue was pin 4. It's pin 4 over there, so it's pin 3 over here. Basically, it's 4 to 3 and 3 to 4. Grab our big Phillips. And there it is. Goes all the way in and tightens down. Yep, that'll be fine. And our yellow guy. Okay, there it goes. And same deal there. Good deal. So 3 is yellow, goes to 4. 4 is blue, goes to 3. So we've got our polarity correct. Good deal. That is everything except for our black wires now. And this is where things get a little bit crazy. I've already connectorized some extra connectors, some extra wires here that I've already cut to length. So let's move over to our hot wire diagram. There it is. Okay, so let's just follow the path as it goes. So this is our power input, right? This is our long cable that plugs into the wall. As soon as it comes in the box, the first thing we want to do is fuse it. So it is going to make a hard turn. You know, it gets a female connector, and it's just going to slide right on the end of our fuse holder there. And you want to use the middle one, because if you look inside of a fuse holder, so this stuff that you can touch, like there's metal you can touch here, that connects to this. What we're connected to in the center is the part that's way down there in the center. So as long as the the part that's hot, straight out of the wall, basically, our wall connects directly to there. Our outlet, connects directly to there. So that's the safest setup. Although it doesn't honestly matter from a functioning standpoint. We could hook it to the other one and it would still be fused and we would still be protected. It would just be, dangerous to touch that while it's plugged in. Okay, so the other side goes out. So we slide that guy on there. And the other end of this is our feed. No, this, now, crap, I built this wrong. This goes to the switch up here at the front, because as soon as we fuse it, then we want to switch it. So I tell you what, let me unscrew up myself here and put a ring terminal on these, because I wanted a ring on these, because it's tight in there and they need to go sideways, and I didn't want a spade connector underneath those. I wanted rings. So alright, I'll be right back. Okay, now we're back. Alright, so now I've got female to ring. So this goes back over here on the output of our fuse. And I went ahead and pulled out the switch. As far as I know, doesn't matter. Input, you can go input to either one and output from the other. Doesn't matter a bit. So I'll tell you what, let me see. This would probably be, see, that is on. So it would be like that. So I want to put this one in the bottom, because it's going to come around here and kind of be right there. So okay, put the screw through there. Go ahead and put the screwdriver in it. And yeah, nothing crazy tight, but nice and tight. It's not going to move. I've given all these a good tug, right? They're not coming loose. So that is how that's going to go. And then the output of this guy is going to feed our terminal strip. So let's go ahead and put this guy right there. Good and tight, and we want to make sure that, this is why you use insulated terminals, so we don't short here. We'll just bend it out just a little bit, just to make sure that we've got separation. So now I need to feed this guy down in here and try to get it, hopefully it'll go. I really don't feel like removing that solid state relay at this juncture. Come on. There's got to be a way to get this in there. There we go. Come at it from the bottom. Okay. Alright, so that is in. Up is on. Down is off. There we go. Alright, so now this has a little on-off thingy. And then this little guy. Come on. There we go. Holds it in place. Good deal. So our wiring, let's see if I can tuck this down in there just a little bit. Yep, that's fine. We've got clearance, nothing's going crazy. And let's see, this, I think the reason why I made it 100 feet long is because there's no room on this side of the heatsink to run it on this side and still get it to still get the lid on. So I'm actually going to run this guy back this direction, and I'll tell you what, I'll run it all low. There it goes. Okay, so it goes around there, and then we bring it around here, and this is the feed into our block. So it takes a pretty, it takes the scenic route coming into town, right? As soon as we come in, we fuse immediately, right? We don't want anything unprotected. So as soon as we come in, we fuse. As soon as we fuse, then we switch. And then once we switch, then we feed our terminal. Okay, so now that we're in the terminal, there are two places it needs to go. The first and easiest here is going to be out of this guy and straight up to the number 2 lug here on the load of the SSR. Right, so basically if the power's on, that guy is hot. And while we're at it, this is our output wire. Nah, that'll be in the way. Let's go ahead and do our other wire first. The remaining wire is our feed from here. Oop, that's the wrong one. Where'd the other one go? I'm missing a wire. What'd you do with it? There it is. It's on the floor. You dropped it? Alright, so this guy goes here. And this feeds power up to our second fuse block, which is going to have the 1 amp fuse, right? To fuse our... that's tight. Get on there. There we go. Alright, so this 1 amp fuse is going to feed the power feed to our solid state relay, or to our, you know what the hell I'm talking about, to our PID controller. Alright, so that was the power in. This is the power out. There it is. Make sure I got that other one on there all the way. Yep, it looks good. Alright, and now this guy, I need to give it a little bend. I forgot to give it just a little bit of a tweak. Nothing crazy, just a little bit. And it will go to number 1. This one's kind of in my way. I'm going to work it down just a little bit. There we are. Alright, that's tight enough for right now. Tighten it up just a little bit more. Alright, so that is our fused output to that guy. And the last connection here is our final output, which is the output of our solid state relay out to this guy. So let's loosen it up, put it right under there. And we are done. Let me double check the tightness on the screws. Let's see, we need another cover for our hot side. That one's not used. Alright, so I've double checked the tightness on everything. It looks like we're in good shape. And we're ready to put some fuses in this guy and see if it powers up. Oh, nope, I forgot to put the plastic cover. Come on. Nope, that's not a plastic cover. Go. Yeah, over our hot terminal strip. Beautiful. I'll tell you what, guys, I'm pretty proud of that. I think that's a good looking unit. I am totally happy with it, even if the switch is a little crooked. That's alright. I'll tell you what, let's get this thing powered up. So we need a 1 amp on the left side. These things never open the way they're supposed to. Okay, so we've got a 1 amp fast blow fuse that we will put, you just, pop them in there. Why is this being a pain? Did I get the wrong size fuses? No. Something weird's going on. Oh, there it was. Yeah, it just didn't pop all the way in there for some reason. There we go, and they just, push in and twist. Now our 10 amp fuses. Come on, get out of there. There we go. Put this guy down in here and goes in and twists. Alright, now at this point I would suggest you put the lid on before powering it up, but we're not going to do that. I'm going to power it up open, so if it catches on fire we get it on camera. That sounds fun. Alright, the switch is off. Switch is off, so absolutely nothing should happen when we plug it in. Yep, looks like we're okay. Pop it around here and hey-oh! Looks like it does a little power up dance. And we don't have a thermocouple connected to it, obviously. So I wonder if we can just plug it in while it's running. I don't see why not. Okay, if I can remember the polarity correctly. Yep, big side on the left. I don't know Celsius very well. It's 22.5 about room temperature. So if I grab a hold of this, see if it starts climbing. Okay, so it's dropping. That tells me maybe I've messed up polarity here. I tell you what, I need to stop. I need to figure out how this thing works because I don't want to put you guys through the horrible process of watching me learn. And I will be right back, and what we'll do is we'll cover in this video the very basic settings we need to change to get ready for bullet casting. And then I'll have another video where we dive a little bit deeper and we go into some troubleshooting. And it looks like I may have a little troubleshooting to do right here at the start, because it seems to be reading backwards. So, alright, I'll be right back.